Well, welcome to this edition of Aging with Attitude. I'm the guest host tonight. My name is Keith Dennis, and I'm excited because the person I'm interviewing is normally the host of this show. His name is Phil Koch, and he is the president when he's not on the show. He's president of Comfort Care. And again, Phil, if you'll just tell us a little bit about your background when you're not the host, because I think a lot of people recognize you as the host.
Well, thank you, Keith. I appreciate that. Yeah, so I'm president of a company called Comfort Care Home Care, which I don't talk about, obviously, as host on the show, but is a in-home care agency licensed in the state of North Carolina, and we provide in-home care for seniors in private residences and retirement centers.
Now, you've come because you've got a new venture that you're wanting to share with us, something that I think our audiences are going to really be interested in, because it takes the organization, and well, I'll let you talk about it.
Sure.
Talk about a little bit about your new venture.
Sure. Well, I've been watching the industry of senior care, which my wife and I have been in for over 10 years. And our company has grown and has done very well, and we know a lot of people in the industry, but we've also watched the evolution of the industry and what seniors want. And in the industry, there's retirement communities, and there's home care, and there's many options out there, but usually it's one of two. It's usually retirement centers as an option for long-term care or short-term care, or it's providing in-home care, which I already do, in people's private residences and retirement centers. Well, there's another option that kind of started to evolve on the West Coast, and it started to move eastward. Not all states have it, but what we're going to talk about tonight is, yes, something that I've decided to jump into because it definitely involves with senior care, and that's the industry of what they call family care homes. Now, family care homes is, like I said, started on the West Coast and really did very well, especially in states like California, and moved eastward, and I'll describe a little bit more what family care homes are. Family care homes, if you imagine a retirement community, okay, in a private residence, in actually a neighborhood or outside of a neighborhood. So imagine, for example, for lack of an assisted living, well, if your mother or your spouse needs to go into an assisted living or independent living, but for different reasons decides not to go that route, this is another option. So if they don't want to go into a retirement community and they don't want to stay at home with in-home care, then family care homes is another option. It's a house where they can get 24/7 care provided by supervised employees that are in the industry that can feed, cook, wash, do linens, make beds, and provide that 24/7 care, standby ambulation to make sure that that resident that moves in is provided care for at all times, night and day, 365 days out of the year, 24/7. I think, and I think we should talk in conjunction with this, some of the other options out there. We're very fortunate, Keith, that Charlotte has an incredible medical community. And with that, both the hospitals and the doctor's offices and the practices that we have, we're very, very, very fortunate. I think one of the reasons why we've seen in the news lately that Charlotte has become one of the fastest growing cities, and let me mention, one of the fastest growing large retirement communities is that combination of it being people following their children and grandchildren, okay? But also great, spectacular medical facilities and retirement communities, both all the way from active adult living communities, independent livings, assisted livings, and skilled nursing rehab centers, and now another option, which are family care homes.
Well, Phil, what I'm really excited about is the fact that ultimately these options, to me, make it very, very pleasant. Just kind of picture for us when we would walk into a family care home that you're getting involved with, what would we see?
Right.
What might be some of the things that we might see?
Well, even before I do that, let me distinguish between some of the retirement communities,
Okay.
and then I'll describe the family care homes. For example, a lot of people say, oh, my mom's moving into, we hear this term in the industry, a nursing home. You know, the nursing home term is not really used as much anymore because, frankly, it connotates a negative feeling. Because, quite honestly, the industry has changed. And what you've seen, you know, in movies in the past, in many instances, especially in the Charlotte area, has really, we've evolved way past that. Hospitals now own skilled nursing rehab centers, which are more of a long-term acute care centers. In fact, CMC, which is an incredible hospital group based here in Charlotte, owns 2 or 3 of their own, okay? And on that note, on the highest level, which is acute care, skilled nursing rehab centers, there are options for people to move there, and they can either go into the long-term care side, if it's going to be something for months, if not years, of long-term acute care. But a lot of the hospitals have people move out of hospitals because they need to free up space for incoming patients, and oftentimes hospitals will say, well, you're not ready to go home quite yet, so we want you to move into the skilled nursing rehab center as well. So it gives them an extra couple days, if not a couple weeks, to get to the level so that they can move home and be independent at home, or be independent with some little additional assistance like home care. So that's a skilled nursing rehab center, which is probably the highest acute level. Then you have assisted livings, and this is, again, from my opinion, this is not, but I've been in the industry for quite a bit. Assisted livings are kind of like independent livings that we're going to talk about in a minute, but for those people that need a little bit more extra care, standby ambulation, maybe they need food prep, meals, activities, and again, we're very fortunate in Charlotte, we have some of the biggest groups in the nation that have communities in the Charlotte market. There are still some independents that are out there, but all in all, over the last 10 years that I've been in the senior care business, many of the independent assisted livings that had originally been set up by a husband and wife, or a church group, or maybe a smaller company, have now been purchased and are acquired by larger groups, which is great because it gives consolidation to the industry, consistency throughout the nation. So you know if you're walking into a particular community, you're probably going to see what you might see in another type of community. However, it also is a little bit, in some eyes of our families, a little bit, well, that's kind of corporate America, and maybe that's not an option that I would like. What other options are out there? And before we talk about family care homes, I'll mention the most independent type lifestyle, and that's independent living. And again, we're fortunate we have great communities in Charlotte that have independent living. The difference between independent living and assisted living is usually the rooms are much bigger, okay? They also have probably shared dining. No nurses can be in the building, otherwise they can't call themselves independent living. That is, nurses hired and employed by the actual community itself. In assisted living, they can. They will have a head RN, usually they call them a wellness director in many cases, and they'll have LPNs that are on staff in case medical issues come up. And they'll have CNAs in the building at assisted livings as well.
Now, what is a CNA for our audience?
Sure, yeah. For a CNA is a certified nursing assistant.
Okay.
So they're licensed by the state to provide personal care up to a degree. Now, if it goes beyond a degree, then CNAs can help. That's where your LPNs and RNs need to take over. If somebody had a PICC line, an IV, or they had a tracheotomy and it needed to be fed through a G-tube, or there's a host of reasons why a nurse by law would have to step in, an LPN or an RN. But oftentimes, many of this stuff can be handled by a CNA. In fact, in my company, which is home care, CNAs are the predominant type of caregiver out there. That we're oftentimes an LPN frankly, isn't needed for people that reside at their house, but a CNA can provide that type of care. But in independent living, an RN is not necessary, in fact, is not allowed in the building. It's basically a group of apartments where seniors can move into 55 or older, has a shared activity room, shared activities together with the seniors, dining options, and it's a great viable option. So today I think we're trying to list out the options that seniors have across the nation and then talk about the newest option, which is family care homes.
And Phil, that's what I'm interested in because
Right.
that's what excites me. That's what excites me. I really am excited about what you're venturing into here and the potential for people that I love. And so I'd like to have you just kind of share what's the difference between
Right.
what you are planning on offering here and what's out there.
Okay, well, family care homes, again, started mostly on the West Coast and really evolved and has come east. But family care homes are similar to independent living and assisted living. They would not so much be on the skilled side as much, although there are levels of family care homes that can go that route. In the state of North Carolina, and every state is different, there's 3 levels of care. They call it ambulatory family care homes, semi-ambulatory, and non-ambulatory. And basically, it comes down to how ambulation is based upon if the person can get out of the house on their own without the assistance of others. They could be in a walker, but if they can get out on their own, a lot of it has to do with fire codes, then they are ambulatory. If they need assistance, okay, or some of the residents need assistance, semi-ambulatory. If they cannot get out at all without assistance, as I understand it, it might be termed differently from the state, that is non-ambulatory. My company that we're establishing, we see the need of ambulatory residents. That is, people that still want the option like independent living or assisted living, and they are ambulatory. So the house that we have purchased that are updating and upfitting based on senior care needs will be an ambulatory licensed family care home in the state of North Carolina in South Charlotte.
And as you've mentioned, this is a real house.
Yes.
Now I'm sure that you've gone through and you've, like you say, you've made it so that it's accessible, that for medical needs that might be needed.
Yes.
And all.
And not all family care homes would go to the extent that we have. And let me mention, there are family care homes in Raleigh and in Greensboro and almost every major metropolitan area in the state. It's still a fledgling, growing option out there. And there are some in Charlotte as well. In fact, one group in particular is really, really good. But we are definitely going towards the high end. And I'm going to describe to you, since you've asked, some of the options, some of the things that we're doing to upfit our house, which you might or might not see in other family care homes, to help bring stability and flexibility to seniors that are going to be residing in that house. For example, we have latches instead of doorknobs. Seniors, we found from experience, and I own a home care agency for 10 years. Doorknobs, oftentimes when you get arthritis, is very difficult to turn if you have some arthritis or gout. Latches are much easier. We are going to have, we took all the tubs out, so they're going to be shower stalls. Low level shower stalls to keep the water in, but they don't have to step over a tub to get into the shower because there's going to be times, ambulation is going to be difficult. One going to be wheelchair accessibility, one shower, so that if somebody came back and for a short-term reason needed to be in a wheelchair, we could literally wheel the wheelchair in there, or if they couldn't even step over that lip, it'd make it easier for them to get into a shower to provide that shower assistance much, much, much easier. We have non-skid surfaces on the bathroom floors and on the shower stalls. We have I believe all the common areas are hardwood floors. We are going to have cameras set up in all the communal areas so that from my building, which I own in South Charlotte, even though we have 24/7 care at the house at all time, we can still monitor the common areas and see what's going on at any given time. So if I'm at my house, I can check in to see what's going on in the living room, the den. We can't do that in the bedrooms, obviously, but in the common areas, we can see what's going on and monitor how the caregivers are doing, but also how the residents are doing. We'll have a dual flush toilet. Doesn't sound like much, but every single toilet was taken out, and we put dual flush toilets in there so that if you have to go number one, you press the number one button. If you have to go number two, so it's eco-friendly, it's green, it's going to save energy, and frankly, it's a lot easier to press the little button than it is, in some cases, to press a handle for that resident that might have arthritis. And it will save energy. And frankly, the plumbing is much, the suction for the plumbing will be much better. It's a higher toilet as well, which is senior friendly, and that's very important. You don't want a low toilet that's difficult to get in and out of. We'll have grab bars throughout the showers, the toilet areas, so that if somebody's needs some help getting up and down, that's one thing we've noticed in private residences and retirement centers, those grab bars are very, very important to give that individual stability to get to and from a toilet or a shower. What else are we doing? We have a wheelchair ramp leading to and from two of the back deck of our house and the side entrance into the house, so that if somebody comes home, they're coming out of a rehab or they're coming into the building and they have a walker, they can go up the wheelchair ramp and be completely fine, not have to take steps if it's a short-term issue, but can go up the ramp. And we have a back deck to our house, and on that deck we'll have a small wheelchair ramp as well, so that they can wheel themselves down onto this beautiful deck with a pergola over it, with fans, and overlooking this beautiful backyard, landscaped gorgeously. We have speakers outside on the deck. On the front porch, you can see elementary school. You can see children playing on a playground. And I don't care what age you are, but I think we all love to see children play and enjoy themselves.
Yeah. Well, Phil, that reminds me of when my mother was at the age where she really couldn't stay in her house anymore. Mm-hmm. The one thing that really bothered her was the fact that, just what you're saying, she had a neighborhood, she had children coming by regularly, going to school every day, and she just loved to be out and able to see and feel like she's still part of the community. And so she knew that she was going to likely be giving that up.
Mm-hmm. People want to have their independence, and they also like the communal atmosphere of truly a home, not a home in the bad negative connotation, but the positive connotation that we all live in. It's not different when you become a senior and you have to go somewhere. You want to feel like you can walk to the refrigerator, open it up, and pour yourself a glass of milk if you so wish, as opposed to, in some cases, it's really good, but a corporate America environment, which some people love. Mm-hmm. But this, again, is yet another option that people are going to say, you know what, I like this. It's not going to be for everybody, but it will be for many people. And I've seen in the industry that more people are asking for that type of true home experience with the common. So it's almost a mixture of independent living with home care 24/7. And that's the beauty of it in a private residence.
Well, I also would think that when you're building a house for this, I know you're in the home care business, but every home that you send somebody into, they have to accommodate for every home, whereas a home like this, it's designed so that in terms of being able to take care of people effectively and not have to be pushing a lot of furniture out of the way or moving things and all that. It's all there.
Well, it's funny you say that because furniture is also a piece of the pie. We are furnishing this house with senior-friendly furniture. I mean, you're not going to get a deep-seated couch, which is difficult for anybody to get out of, let alone a senior. So the type of couches and chairs you would want pedestal like this would not be senior-friendly, okay? A pedestal, excuse me, table is more senior-friendly with firm chairs with support on the chairs so they can get in and out of very easily. Support is the key because seniors at one point in time will have some ambulatory issues. So you want to give them that stability as much as possible. And you know, if they need to have a walker nearby, they can get access to that. So it's not just the house itself and the upfittings of the house, but it's the furniture that goes into that house, the lighting, right? Even the paint colors. I mean, we're not going to have a dark black paint. You want light colors in the house, uplifting colors. I'd like to mention too, the house has a circular driveway so that residents' families can come in and park right in this gorgeous circular driveway. And two massive, almost Dilworth-looking oak trees are on the front yard right by the street. It's really beautiful. It's a sight to see. If anybody's ever interested, they could certainly reach out and I could show them. But my house of a family care home, which we're going to have more than one, is just one of, there's many already established in the Charlotte market. So I would encourage people to look at the options.
But what you're describing, Phil, is home.
Yeah.
It's a real home, made and modified so that it fits people that are of senior ages and are having more problems. But it's a real home, and Phil, that is so exciting.
It is
exciting. It
exciting.
just makes me tickled because so many folks don't want to give up what they've spent a lifetime living in.
Well, people, you know, my wife and I have been in this business over 10 years, and this is yet another option that we can give seniors that have deserved only the best retirement, another option out there that they can look at and review and make a decision on, you know, maybe they say, I don't want a family care home, maybe I want independent living.
Sure.
Maybe I want assisted living. Maybe I want what they call a CCRC.
Right.
Okay, but that's all right. It's another option out there. I think the biggest issue I'll be having is just educating the people out there in Charlotte and their families about family care homes, and I hope today is one example of that, of what family care homes are, and it's another option out there. If they decide to go the route of my particular family care home, great, but if not, at least be aware of the options that are out there.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I know that we've been talking about all the exciting things about the home, but I'm sure that people also want to know in terms of, we talked a little bit about the staffing, but in terms of regulations, meeting requirements to make sure that you're following the regulations. I mean, I'm sure that, well, tell me a little bit about what that process is.
It's extensive. We have a liaison, a wonderful woman from the county of Mecklenburg County that we're working with. She's been instrumental in helping us manage through the policies and procedures. We have to come up with policies and procedures. It's exhausting. I could take another episode to talk about the rules and procedures that we have to establish for just one family care home. We have to be approved by the architectural construction department from the state of North Carolina for adult group homes, which we're currently being done now. They've already reviewed the original plan, what we're revising the house to make it look like. They've already made some comments and we're going down that path. So everything is very smooth. But yes, there is a lot to be done, not only on a county basis, a city basis, a state basis, and then the inspectors come in, have to review it all before you get final zoning approval as a family care home in the county of Mecklenburg County, but then also zoning as a family care home under the state of Department of Health and Human Services in the state of North Carolina. So both. There's a lot to it.
But you're going through that process,
Absolutely.
and you'll be fully able to handle all this, I'm sure.
Yes.
Because you've been that way all along since I've known you.
Well, we're
so.
fortunate. You know, we have a lot of, because my wife and I have been in the industry for many years, we have a lot of contacts on the county level and on the state level. They've been all very, very kind, and it makes it easier. We feel like we know a lot what seniors want, but we also have the contacts on the county and the state level. Hopefully that'll make it easier to get up and running as quick as possible. And our goal for our particular house will be this summer. And we're certainly on target to go down that path. I'll be the licensed administrator. I'll be staffing it. We'll have a supervisor in charge called SIC, and we will have med techs that will hire through the same company that I have now, Comfort Care Home Care, but now this new company will be staffing the building with med techs 24/7 to make sure that the residents have the full care that they need.
Well, again, I've got a couple other questions. Let me just quickly. Again, we've talked a little bit. I'm hearing you say that you're looking at this as going to be a continued thing that all of the people that are watching our show need to be watching out for in the area. So, if you just give a little bit about what you see your future in this being.
I think the industry is going to continue to grow. I think family care homes will continue to grow, and you'll see the industry of family care homes as another option for retirement communities and families of seniors out there to be a viable option, and you'll see many more in the Charlotte market and the state of North Carolina.
All right. Well, we're about ready to wrap up. I'm so happy that Phil has come on to this time be our guest, because what he's doing sounds extremely exciting, sounds like things that people that are looking for their future and their retirement and living a quality life, and of course that's what this show is all about. We're just grateful for opportunities to talk about programs that you're developing, ideas and concepts. And we're so glad that you were able to come and be on our show this evening. You be sure to continue watching our show, and Phil will put you back in the saddle here and let you be the fine host that you always are.